learned that that's what it is. If you just give someone who's crazy a ton of sugar, they're like, you're the best person ever. So I pumped enough white mocha to go into the small size, which is 12 ounces. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Starbucks cups.
Yeah.
But I pumped it to the green line.
Wow.
And then added a little bit of coffee and milk, because there was almost no space left when, once you add the ice. And I gave it to her, and she's like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is the best thing ever. Just next time, no sugar."
Oh, well.
And I'm like, "That's pure sugar." Like, I'm honestly like a little worried, like I may have committed a crime giving you that much sugar. It was kind of annoying, but like the crazy people there really did like me. I guess I was just nice to them, because I would tell like my coworkers, I'm like, they're crazy, they're not stupid. Like, they know you're judging them, and they know that you're being mean to them, like, on purpose. Just, treat them with a little bit of respect, and everything's fine.
Oh. And enjoy their crazy.
Mm-hmm. I'll make sure I tuck this correctly. I've never filmed a nude massage, but I found out recently. I guess they changed it, like when they changed the way we do our intake forms years ago. But in Texas now, you have to cover the gluteal cleft.
Ah.
Because it used to be that Texas really didn't have a law over like whether the person had to be draped or not.
Yeah.
It's just that if they were not draped, they had to agree to it. But now the law specifically says the breasts, the genitals, and the gluteal cleft have to be covered. Which I'm sorry to all the people on YouTube and TikTok who are expecting you to drop the sheet.
Right. Oops.
I was working on like that muscle under your armpit, and you were like writhing.
Yes.
And someone put on just like, "Oh, I'm just waiting for him to drop the sheet." I'm like, you know how like I edit this, right? Like, if that happened, I wouldn't put it on TikTok. Especially TikTok, they're band happy.
Whoa.
Like, I'm not gonna put any more glute videos on TikTok for a while, because even if the TikTok says like something is inappropriate, then they change their mind.
Yeah.
You keep the strike, and if you have enough strikes in a certain amount of time, they'll just like ban your channel.
Wouldn't you hate to be that poor guy that gets has to review all this stuff?
Yeah, well, a lot of it's like computers, but yeah, I've heard like for Facebook, they see like just absolutely like horrendous stuff.
Oh, I'm sure.
They would have to put me in a soundproof room. Even just the stuff I see on TikTok, like, I'm surprised I haven't been like evicted for screaming at 2 in the morning.
Luckily, I'll get on stuff like that occasionally, but just if I ever got hooked on it, you just find my body.
Mm-hmm. I see, like, and I guess the algorithms know I'll watch these like videos of people getting hurt, and I don't know why I watched them, but like they just disturbed me. And so like I was watching like, so I saw one where a guy was doing leg presses and it was too much weight and his knees went the other way.
See, my body hurts when I see my body absorbs that pain when I see stuff like that.
And again, I guess I do like seeing some of those videos because I go to this Reddit sub called Crazy Fucking Videos, and it's some of the videos. It's like, you know what? I didn't need to see that.
Right.
Like I honestly wish I can go back in time and not see that. That's traumatic. And then some of them are kind of cool, but also kind of crazy. I saw a man. I guess I feel bad for him. I don't know. It was yeah, I feel bad for him. It was a weird situation. A tornado was coming, and I'm not sure why he just filmed it, but he literally just stood at the window filming it, and he survived, but his wife died.
Wow.
Like his wife and his her friend were downstairs in the kitchen, and they probably would have survived if he like had said something.
Yeah.
But he was just standing at the window like filming the tornado, and you're like watching like, is that going his way? And like you never seen like a video of a tornado like that clearly coming towards someone. And finally, like it was basically like a block away that he finally like moved away from the window, and that he was thrown downstairs and they were crushed and killed.
Oh, wow. Dallas also has a lot crazier weather than, I know we have hurricanes.
Yeah.
But the tornadoes and the hail in Dallas is just unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I was there. I can't remember the exact year, but I was in Dallas the year they had Texas had that huge drought.
Yeah.
And so right before like a few weeks before I left, there was a hailstorm. Have you been to Dallas? So like you familiar with the area?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, so I was working at a Starbucks on Forest.
Okay.
And the hailstorm was big enough that it was hitting us, and it also hit White Rock Lake.
Wow.
Because I had a friend who was jogging at White Rock Lake when the hail started falling. And that was terrifying. Even though the first time I saw hail was maybe a month earlier. It was funny. I was walking my dog, and I was like coming back to the apartment complex, and like a little bit of a hail hit the ground, but it was like super, super tiny.
Yeah.
And so I thought someone threw ice at us. And I'm like, who is throwing ice? That's so rude. And I look
Who's been to Sonic?
Yeah. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, I don't see anybody. And then some more falls. I'm like, oh, that must be what hail is. And so then like a few weeks later, I'm at work and we thought someone was tap dancing like on the roof. And then all of a sudden just a golf ball size just hits the window and everyone just runs into. I'm surprised that window didn't break. Like I guess they have bulletproof glass windows at Starbucks. Because like the hail was pretty big. It hit my windshield. I had to have that replaced. I went to my apartment and 75% of the cars had their windshields cracked or destroyed.
And I bet 75% of them were in there wondering why the apartment community didn't provide garages.
Yeah.
And it's like, you chose not to live someplace with garages.
Yeah. And I honestly did not know about Texas weather. Like one, I did not know about the Dallas heat. Because when I first moved to Dallas and the summer hit, my car battery just died.
Yeah.
And they called AAA, they're like, oh yeah, it's the heat. Like, they're like, we see this all the time. People move to Dallas and they're like, oh, my battery was fine. Like I replaced it pretty recently and it just dies. Like Dallas heat, they say that Houston is like the armpit of like Texas, but I'm like, Dallas heat is something else.
Yeah, because it's that dryness of it.
And that was also the year that it got to 110 degrees for 31 days. It was the second longest streak of 110 degree like weather. Yeah. Dealing with that, I was like, okay, hail is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, any of those hitting you could kill you. Because they hit you in the head. And basically, if you fell, it would be like being stoned to death.
Yeah. It's coming quite speedy.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't remember seeing any tornadoes, but it was, so like, I lived across the street from these townhomes that had like a tornado, like a warning or something, but I didn't know what it was because it would always go off in the middle of in the afternoon. So like, oh, this must be like, like the kids are getting out of school or something.
Yeah.
And then someone told me like, oh, that's for tornadoes. I'm like, that's terrifying. I'm like, that thing goes off all the time. And I would go to work and people were like, oh, are you okay? Like, a tornado hit, Richardson. I'm like, I'm 2 exits from Richardson. I'm like, are you okay? Tornado hit. People would constantly tell me about tornadoes, and I'm like, it got to the point where like I was driving down 75 and it was like raining. I'm like, is a tornado just gonna cross the highway? Because in Florida we just get them during the hurricanes.
Right. Yeah. Here, God just throws them at you all the time.
Mm-hmm. And now they get earthquakes because of the fracking.
Right.
I would definitely rather take hurricanes. You can see them coming.
Well, yeah, you get weeks and weeks notice sometimes. Forest fires must be just terrifying.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Then also you're living so far out from the city, like basically in the forest, which I guess you could do that because you seem to enjoy nature and think it's like, a wonderful thing. I'm happy it exists, I just don't want to be near it.
Right.
So like those people who like are basically living in the forest, like they're like, oh, I have this huge nice house and it's like the forest is like in my backyard.
Yeah, trees all around, yeah.
I'm like, no, that's why you like see those videos with people like, oh, there was a bear in the backyard. Like, yeah, because you're living where the bear lives.
Bear was here first, I promise you.
Like, stick to the city. Like, oh, you coyotes, like, ate my cat. Like, yeah, because you live out in the, like, wild.
Well, and you leave cat food out all the time, so everything comes up to it.
I bought a house and like a bear like appeared. I'm selling that house. Oh, I saw this video in Africa. Oh, it was terrifying. Like I guess like a leopard became deranged or something.
Yeah.
And was just attacking people. I think it attacked like a dozen or more people.
Wow.
And there's this video of it. They can leap.
Oh yeah.
That thing leaped like a 15-foot wall, so gracefully, by the way. Just beautiful. And then I guess it knew that like we like drive cars because it jumped the fence and then ran up and jumped straight towards the driver's side window.
Oh wow.
Like it was clear that it was trying to get into the window, but luckily the window was up.
Looks just like those whales down there tipping over boats.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what happened with that.
So you mean stop or why it started?
Yeah, why it started.
Supposedly there was a female orca that was hit by a boat.
Oh, I see.
And these were in her pod, and the pod started.
So they're like, okay, so those boats are a threat. That's what they're saying. And that's another thing. If I find someone and I'm like, I'm madly in love with you and I want to spend the rest of my life, like, well, I want to, be around my family. Oh, where's your family? Oh, is that, so you live in a place where there could just be like a leopard walking down the street. You know what? My true love will we'll meet in another lifetime. Either that or I'm staying in the house and you're providing me with security to take me outside. Like I want armed guards when we go to the car. I will never feel comfortable being outside if they're like leopards and tigers and lions and anything like that.
Yeah.
I saw one video where like a leopard hopped over the fence and killed someone's dog.
Yeah.
Like the dog was at the fence, and then I guess it saw it and started running, and it ran the thing, it jumped over the fence, and it chased it, and it killed it by the house.
There's still stories all the time about eagles swooping down and getting those little yippy dogs.
Yeah. I would say, you have a dog that's that size, don't leave it outside by itself. Yeah, that's a chicken nugget. Your dog is a prey animal. I'm used to that people in Florida walking their dog near like a canal.
Mm-hmm.
And an alligator comes.
Alligators, yeah.
Like, oh, you brought me lunch. Remember when I lived in Dallas, someone stole my neighbor's chihuahua from his patio. I was so confused. I'm like, why would you steal a chihuahua?
Right, of all things. You know, they want a yippy dog.
Yeah, and I wanted to be nice. Well, I was nice. I didn't say. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I didn't see anyone. But I wanted to say, like, why would you leave your super small dog just out there? Then again, people will go after big dogs. Someone killed my aunt's German shepherds.
Mm.
She had 2 of them. We still never know what happened because it's like weird. My aunt just is not the kind of woman who would have like enemies.
Yeah.
She's too nice.
One of those crazy sadistic people.
Like my aunt would piss off telemarketers because she wouldn't say no or hang up. She would like listen to them out of like politeness.
Wow.
And then they would get angry at them because they realized she was never gonna buy anything. But she's like, I didn't want to be rude and interrupt. Then again, my dog, you could have kidnapped him with a pack of hot dogs.
Always ready to get in the white van, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Or if you were just a woman, he was such a flirt.
Oh.
Like if a woman came up and talked to him, he would wag his tail so hard that his body would start to spin around. The thing was, he did not understand that most people are not fond of 80-pound dogs.
Yeah. People, I mean, some parents have taught people to just be instantly afraid of animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that fear is so easily transferred.
That's kind of how I got him. I was walking down the street, and I was like, on the street, almost as busy as like, I would say, no, busier than Richmond. So like almost as busy as Westheimer.
Yeah.
And the way it was set up, there was like a concrete barrier between the houses and the street. So it's like literally the sidewalk concrete
Right.
and this busy street. And this dog run past me, and like I'm like, oh, it's a dog. I'm like, yeah, like I literally was like sleeping on like a Doberman Pinscher when I was like 2 years old. I'm not afraid of dogs. I respect them because
Sure.
not everybody raises their dog
Right.
correctly.
No. And it appears to have gotten worse.
So some dogs hate humanity, and it's like when you meet the owner, it's like I can kind of see why.
Well, just the whole dog culture's changed with being able to take them almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm. There was a dog in here the other day. I don't know, he wasn't a seeing eye dog or anything, because the guy left him outside and then brought him in. As long as your dog is well behaved.
Right.
And I just rather than not being around food. But some people won't, like the woman who went to Starbucks and her dog crapped in the lobby.
Right.
Like, oh, he's a ACA, he's a I forget the name, but yeah, he's helping me. It's like, no, that dog was dirty.
Right.
It's like you have to they will never let you get and keep that dog with that dog being that filthy. If that dog hasn't even been out in the rain, it's so dirty.
Mm.
I could never take Spike anywhere though. I did not train him correctly to be on a leash.
Mm-hmm.
And he would always pull, and it was so embarrassing. I'm like, oh, Spike, everyone's gonna think I'm choking you. It's you. And it was funny though, because I would take him for walks, and he would pull on the leash. It was so embarrassing. And no matter which way I went, I guess he was actually going off my body language. He knew when we were going home. Yeah. Because then all of a sudden, instead of pulling the leash, he's behind me. And also, I'm a little convinced my dog might have been the dog devil. Because in movies, when animals see the devil, they freak out. Yeah. That's how dogs treated my dog. We had to go in the back of the vet because we would just go in the front, and he would not bark at all. Yeah. He would just stare at every other dog, and they would just freak out.
Tough guy.
Yeah, and he's just staring, and every dog is freaking out. He was always a tough guy, though. When he was a puppy, I was taking him for a walk, and my neighbor let their dog somehow get out of the house. Big white dog, maybe like a Pyrenees or something, just huge dog. And it's running after Spike. And so I started twirling around, basically trying to keep myself in between Spike and the dog. Yeah. So I'm trying to keep him behind me. And they finally called their dog back in. And so as the dog is entering the house, Spike runs from behind me. And the dog turns and looks at him, and he runs behind me. Oh goodness.
Instigator.
He's always had a weird relationship with other dogs. And what if he just didn't think he was
a dog? Thought he was a human.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know what kind of dog he was, but he had a Ridgeback. I think he was a Rhodesian Ridgeback. Mm-hmm. And if he was, that one would explain how stubborn he was. Yeah. He was so stubborn, I thought he was deaf at one point. I mean, no, you can hear me, you just don't care.
Yeah, I just stopped listening.
But also, he had an insanely high prey drive. If you weren't a dog or a human, he was like, I have to kill you. I never got another dog while I had him because I just was never sure what was going to happen. But people never met a person he didn't like. Worst guard dog ever. Well, at least for the house. He would guard me if you got aggressive with me, though. He wasn't playing that. I remember one time me and my little brother were pretending to wrestle. And I'm 8 years older than my brother, so I was letting him beat me up. And Spike started growling at him. And then like we was like, oh, that's interesting. So we did the reverse, and I pretended to beat my little brother up, and Spike just walked.
Spike was like, hey, go ahead. Ooh.
And he was like, oh, he'll protect you, but not me. I'm like, okay, but like honestly, like you don't feed him, you don't really hang out with him. I'm like, for all he knows, you're just some dude who like rents a room here. Like he may not recognize you as family. Have you been walking a lot? Well, I guess you walk all the time.
I started trying to do 45 minutes on the Stairmaster every morning.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Your calves are tighter than they were before. Your shoulders actually seem better than they were before. I actually can't use a Stairmaster because I'm afraid of heights. You know, that I have a rational reason for.
Right.
When I was a kid, God, let's see, I had to be like 7 or under. We found some apartment building, I don't know, a stairwell had broken in half.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And kids are stupid. And so we went up the stairs and we walked over that stairwell and then we would jump down. And Terrence, being the least graceful person in the entire world, did a belly buster on the ground from half a story up.
That knocks the air out of you.
I think that's like why I have like a fear of heights. Like even being on the step stool is like upsetting to me. I see like those videos, they have like these restaurants where it's like on a skyscraper, but it's jutting out of the skyscraper and the ground is glass.
Yeah.
I'm like, they would have to call the fire department. I would be sobbing.
They have the Hancock building in Chicago, it's called Tilt.
Yeah.
And you stand and it tilts you out of the...
I would just be sobbing. Just, they would have to have someone drag me out. It would be horrible. I would probably throw up. No. Even though it's weird, I like roller coasters because of my fear of heights. I used to until I realized they're not as safe as I thought they were.
Well, it's also age because your equilibrium starts to go on roller coasters.
Well, even when I was younger, I just liked the what made me not like them was when I like realized that people actually die on roller coasters. Like I thought they were like super safe, and so like I'm like, oh, this is like I can, experience my fear of heights, but I'm in this like I'm basically strapped down to the thing and I feel safe. But it's to the point, like, if you ever see me, like, at the mall, walking with someone, and I'm close to the rail, like, on the second floor, call the police. You're like...
That is bad.
Well, either call the police, or, like, congratulate me on, like, meeting, like, the love of my life. Because that is either I have been kidnapped, or, like, I trust that person in a way that is, like, almost unheard of. Like when I go to the mall and I'm on the second floor and I'm near the rail, like I start to get dizzy.
Oh.
hell for me would be on top of a cliff doing like a lightning storm.
Cliff diving.
Well, like on top of a cliff doing like a thunderstorm. Because that's my other phobia is heights and lightning. Both going back to childhood trauma. I don't know if you remember like Fox, not like the cable news channel, but like, you know, the regular channel.
Yeah.
Like back in like maybe the 90s or early 2000s. No, it was the 90s. They at one point they would do all these documentaries on like how the world was gonna kill you.
Oh, yeah. That's probably not your channel.
Yeah, and like my mom would let me watch them because like, oh, it's like a documentary, it's, you know, it's good. And they had one on lightning, and it's like this woman's like sleeping in her bed. Lightning hits the transformer, goes through the wires and like the wires and like sets her bed on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm like 6 years old watching this.
You're like never sleeping again.
Yeah.
The only thing Mom did was we weren't allowed to take baths when there was a thunderstorm outside. It was like, I don't even know if that's still a thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still a thing or what it was ever a thing.
Yeah.
Like I understand when you said you didn't like you don't drink coffee, because I actually was not allowed to drink coffee until I was 16.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother, she's kind of superstitious, so she wouldn't let my mom give me coffee. And kind of because of that, I don't really have I don't dislike coffee, but I don't have like a desire to drink it. Like,
right.
I pretty much drink it if I'm like tired and I want the caffeine. But like I've been to Starbucks maybe like 8 times since I quit, and that was like 5 years ago. Also the fact that it's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I spend this much money for something I like don't even care that much about?
Yeah.
Like coffee tastes good, but I personally feel like people over exaggerate how amazing it is. It's like, yeah, it's a nice flavor.
It's always ice cream, and you don't drink, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, ice cream is not a part of your identity.
Right. So like those people that go up to the soda machine and like make their own mixes.
Mm-hmm. I had a friend who was obsessed with cherry Coke. He would have like at least 2 12-packs in his trunk at all times.
See, I'm fine with tap water.
But then he was just kind of obsessive with things. Like we worked at Starbucks together, and he was obsessed with the pumpkin spice latte, which people get really obsessed with the pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but I don't understand the obsession.
Right.
And so my boss, like an idiot, allowed him when he became a supervisor to do the order. So, like the selfish person he is, he over-ordered pumpkin spice so that when the season was over and we had to throw it out, he could take it home. And he would literally come in and have like those little mini shampoo bottles full of pumpkin spice. And I'm like, you realize you're like a drug dealer, right? Like a customer was like, oh, you got some pumpkin spice, Josh? And you will pull out this little vial of pumpkin spice. I'm like, you're like the guy from TV who has like drugs in his trench coat. But also, some people just don't like change. I think that's a big part of like what Starbucks is, why it's big. Like some people will drink the same thing every day for decades. If I have something too much, I just kind of get bored with it. Like it's Tuesday and I kind of want to go to Popeye, but I'm like kind of like I've had too much Popeye. I'm a little over it right now.
God, the fried chicken is good.
It is, but being so close to one, I've just had too much.
Yeah.
Which is surprising for me to say, because I always say the reason I don't do drugs is I'm like, if I can't get the Popeye chicken, I don't stand a chance against heroin. I can't stop eating Popeye's chicken. I should never try crack. Saw a video on Instagram. It was hilarious, and I totally agree with the guy. He had just had surgery or something, and he was waking up, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we gave you this and that, and we gave you fentanyl," and he like almost jumped off.
No.
Fentanyl.